Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. I am your Matt. Oh, it's going so well already. I am Matt, your game master for the evening. I can see my players laughing at me in the cams, arrayed below me on StreamYard. Hi, we're playing Symbaroum tonight. It's a dark fantasy role-playing game from Fria Ligan, and we've been playing it a while now, so glad you could join us for this new short story arc, Fever of the Hunt. There we go. There we go. I got through it. We got there in the end. First off, let's bring on our stream manager, John, who is one of the people laughing at me. John will be sitting in the background, shuffling around images, cams, wielding the band hammer in chat, that kind of exciting stuff. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm all right. I'm weirdly cold, but I've got a blanket, so I should be able to cope.
Yeah, and you're not tripping over your words like and just an absolute moron. So you're doing better than me.
Surprisingly, that's usually my trick, but
well, not tonight. Tonight I've got that market cornered. So there we go. John will disappear behind the scenes, and we might see him later if something awful happens, like the game master just can't talk for any reason. We have a bunch of links down below. We have links to both Twitch and YouTube, one of which you're watching this on. If you want to hop to the other one and give us a follow/subscribe, that would be wonderful. That would be great. We also have a link to our Discord if you want to come talk to us about all things Telling Tales and indeed all things tabletop role-playing. We've got a link to our Patreon if you feel like if you feel like sponsoring us further, maybe so I can get an English teacher. We've got links to a load of social media. We're usually Telling Tales RP, but not always. So just check out below, and you'll find your way there. We run this weekly, this Symbaroum series. We also run a series on Tuesday night of Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, same time, 8 o'clock GMT, and we do monthly one shots. Kind of on roughly on the first Saturday of every month, and that means there's one coming up this week. Yes, on Saturday we will be playing Troika, a wonderful abstract indie RPG game. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be very, very silly indeed. So why not come join us for that? We'll be playing that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon GMT, right here on this very Twitch place, a site. It's called Twitch. I hope you've heard of it. And with that in mind, let's bring on the players. Oh, that was rough to get through. First, we have Chris. Chris plays Steo. He is our sort of mercenary / town guard / veteran guy. He's on mute, but
I'm not. I was actually mouthing it just to make your day a little bit more stressful.
No, good. I'm really grateful for that. That's made me very happy. Just so people know, Chris is having a little bit of internet trouble tonight, so might be on and off a bit at the beginning of the stream, but that's not my fault. That's the thing that isn't my fault. So don't blame me for that one. Chris, why don't you tell us how the start of last week's session went?
So we mopped up the second tomb we were raiding for our trip to Davokar. We killed all the enemies, and we were beginning to address the treasures held within, which were stored behind a very large and intricate door, whose carvings had long worn off, giving us no real clues as to how to go about opening it. So we spent a while poking around, and myself and our two barbarian friends eventually just brute forced it and hoided it open. We did trigger a trap in the process, but it was so long gone. It was poison based, and the poison had long since desiccated. Inside, we found a lovely chamber with a mounted necklace with a mummified hand on it. As Matt pointed out last week, the penchant for the ancient Symbaroum civilization to preserve body parts seems to be both gruesome and fairly universal. And in its fist was a small glowing orb of light, a little stone, which Antom verified was a sunstone, a not incredibly... a well understood artifact that tends to float around, but still very valuable and very useful. Unfortunately, we didn't roll high enough on the greed table, and the barbarians got the Sunstone by a fair coin flip, and we got the cursed monkey's paw, which we stowed away in a Hessian sack, probably never to look at again, at least until we've got somewhere we can have it properly laboratory or optimized. And we made our way out.
Yeah, you made your way out of the ruin, having basically, I suppose, in more traditional terms, successfully beat the dungeon that did for the party in the prologue story. So, well done there. You made it home, and you're going to make it home with that desiccated monkey's paw in a sack. And what adventurer could say could want more? Honestly. So then you're making your way south through Davokar, trying to make your way back to the safety of Ambria with these companions. You joined up with the two barbarians and Rolnara, the ranger. And let's bring on Sam, our second player, who plays Ascarai, our changeling ranger. And that journey through the forest went well with no hitches. Isn't that right, Sam?
As do all our journeys, really. It's par for the course at this point. We were just kind of walking along, minding our own business, not troubling anyone. And suddenly, I think we got a bit split up, and out of nowhere come these horrible flying little creatures that are kind of giggling and cackling as they just bite us for reasons unknown, presumably to kill us and other bad things. They were pretty nasty in terms of giving us corruption whenever they hit us, which was not good. But
luckily, none of them bit Anton, because obviously Anton's been having a mare of the time with the old corruption.
Yeah, but luckily for Anton, the one time Anton gets good luck, but he needed it, he deserved it, so we'll give it to him. So yeah, they kind of came out of nowhere. We eventually fought them off. Pretty satisfying. I think Matt enjoyed describing us cutting them up into little pieces.
They're filthy, horrible little bastards.
But yeah, we were more or less not unscathed, but we made it through just about, and carried on towards the ruins we were initially heading for before we got sidetracked by the tomb we came from. You are muted. You're still muted.
Sorry. Yeah, if people are wondering where Chris has gone, as I say, his connection's wonky tonight. So just bear with us as he pops in and out. Let's bring on our final player. Let's bring out Mike, who plays Anton, our Theurg of Prios, resident lawmaster, and sometime healer, sometime flailer of abominations. Yeah. And I know I'd written down a specific bit for you to recap for this, Mike, but you know what? You can tell us about your ritual as well, can't you?
Yeah, so Anton did a bit of a ritual to purge himself of the corruption that he'd amassed at the end of the last story arc, and yeah, that was getting a little bit scary in terms of Anton's potential descent into abomination. So, taking a break on our journey with the barbarian chums, Anton built a pyre, set it alight, walked into it, and tried to purge himself of some permanent corruption, which was slightly successful, but not wholly successful. A few points of permanent corruption remain, and that will have to be something that Anton does something about in the future. Yeah.
You just set yourself on fire again. It seems a good solution.
Yeah. The cleaning power of Prios. So after that, we followed our barbarian chums sort of further towards the southeast, and right at the end of the session, we bumped into a new barbarian clan which we'd not encountered before. These guys are called the Karohar tribe, and they informed us that we are able to enter their lands, but we are not able to leave their lands. They also informed us that around the in their lands there are a number of visitors from the south, so presumably Ambrians, that may be sort of heading to this destination that we're on our way towards, that has bountiful treasure. So yeah, that's what they said, and then we made the decision that we are going to risk going into that land, and to hell with the consequences. We'll fight our way out or something. We haven't really got that far ahead. We just thought we'd follow our barbarian friends into it.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, you went striding into these taboo lands of the Karahar, and apparently you're allowed in, but you aren't allowed out. So what could possibly go wrong with that? I don't know if we're gonna. I think we're gonna try Chris as just audio. Are we gonna try that? Are we gonna try that, Chris?
Hello.
Hello. Let's try you with just audio for a while until you settle down. Not you. You're in.
I was going to say.
You're on a
excuse me.
timeout.
Yeah, you're on a visual timeout, young man. Okay, yeah. So we're going to pick up more or less exactly where we left off. You're walking along the riverbank of the kind of walking to the east, and you don't kind of see anything that indicates any difference in the landscape, but you do quite quickly start to hear something. You hear kind of the tumult of what sounds like the tumult of a settlement ahead of you, essentially. You hear raised voices, you hear kind of like wood being split, those kind of things. And as you emerge out onto the riverbank, you can see that ahead of you there is like a large sort of, it looks like kind of a muddy clay hill. And around the base of it, there is a relatively high and sturdy looking, about 3 meters tall, wooden palisade that rings what seems to be a camp at the foot of it. You can see that there is a gate and there are guards. You can also see that those guards are definitely not in uniform and look pretty scrappy and brutal. Your barbarian companions are walking up to those main doors. And you know what? We have a map of what the general layout looks like. And John will pop that up for us now. There we go. So again, I wish I could ping this, but you're kind of walking in from the left there, right? And kind of walking roughly southeast down. You can see where the gate is. It's just that little kind of semicircle on the left-hand side of that wall, and the hill is like directly to the north of it, right? With those lighter trails being paths, and the darker green has basically been forest clearing. Right, they've cleared the forest all around the hill. The barbarians are striding up to the gateway. What are you guys doing?
I think I'm going to ask Vikama, perhaps, or Ralnara, like, you've been here before?
Vikama kind of shakes his head tersely. And Rilnara just kind of looks over her shoulder. She's kind of ahead of the other two and says, "Just heard about it."
It's a lot of people for taboo lands.
Vikama nods and says, and mostly Ambrian. Ambrian name, Cylindra's Hope.
Well, that's good.
Place reminds me of Blackmore, and I do not like it.
Blackmore being the kind of not refugee camp exactly, although also not entirely not refugee camp, the kind of squatters and goblins camp. I think you guys did take a trip there briefly, didn't you? When you went to meet with the goblins, the Shuglads people. Yeah. As you approach this gate, the guards on it kind of examine you curiously, and when the two barbarians on Relnara come up to the gate, one of them kind of bangs on the gate doors. They don't seem inclined to enter into conversation with you particularly, but you can go ahead and talk to them. Relnara and Vikama and Gadjaban are just kind of looking at each other and obviously waiting for whatever happens after to acknowledge this banging on the gate?
I think I'd just wait. Wait for the gate as they do.
Sure. The gate swings open after about a minute or so, and a woman steps out, a rugged woman in a leather apron. She's holding a repeating crossbow in her arms, and half her face is covered with a mask of blackened silver. She steps out and says, "You'll be wanting claims?" Rilnara and Vikima and Gadgeman all kind of nod. And she says, "All right, this way then," and kind of indicates for you to follow her with this large mechanical crossbow.
I'll try and make to group up with them so it appears like we're all going in together.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a nice little intro for the story that they've written. I've just adapted it a little bit because I liked it so much. So this will act as your introduction to Cylindra's Hope. The muddy hill stands in desolate majesty amid the woodlands of Davakar. At its foot, some 100 treasure hunters are crammed behind a simple palisade, seeking shelter from the dangers of the forest. Wild animals, elves, and worse. You are met by muddy Daythalers, staggering towards their shacks for some sleep, while a few prospectors celebrate their findings on the main street, a couple of jerry-built houses with ostentatious exteriors in the middle of the camp. Suddenly, the bellow of a wounded beast echoes through the woods. "Did the stag frighten you?" Silvercheek says. "You better get used to it. The old man refuses to die and keeps bothering us with all his wailings." She adjusts her masks and says, "I'm the one to see if you are to purchase a claim. Here." She points at one of the large buildings, which looks to be a kind of gambling den / tavern that has just a sign hanging on the outside of it with 2 dice on it, one showing a 5 and one showing a 2. On the path to the gambling den, you pass a wooden pole sticking up from the clay, dressed in withered flowers. "There lays Cylindra, hoping," grins Silvercheek. "Prayers have been carved into the rough wood, and the ground below is strewn with copper coins. Meager offerings to appease the ancient forces of the forest, untamed and hungry." So, your barbarian companions walk into the gambling den behind Silvercheek. Are you guys doing the same?
I think so, yeah.
So, Cylindra walks behind what is a kind of rough bar. The place is really quite full. You'd say there's maybe 30 or 35 people in here, drinking, talking at the top of their voices, shouting, eating. And she kicks kind of a couple of more drunken individuals out of seats at the bar and gestures for you to take them. She pours a drink for each of you, puts it in front and says, "That's the last one you'll get for free."
Oh, you're going to hear this hit my stomach, lads. To Ephanea and comrades lost.
To
I will
Ephanea.
drink the yummy juice.
Sure. So, immediately, so yes, thank you, John. Remember Erfons. Erfons is also with you, your goblin companion. It took me less long than usual to remember him this time, or more specifically, to read John's request for me to remember him. So you're all kind of stood there at the bar. Immediately, Relnara and Vikima start engaging in sort of barter with Silvercheek over purchasing a claim. They've talked to you about this. Apparently, this hill that the small settlement is based around is full of treasures, and people have just been buying claims. Whether that's legal or it's within Silvercheek's right to charge you in any way for it is of course questionable, but it is what it is, and she clearly has a lot of sway here. And she's just negotiating with them for that. Are you engaging in that as well? Are you attempting to purchase a claim? Are you kind of steering clear of this conversation for now?
What would we understand by claim? Like a claim to a part of this hill where any treasure found is ours, more or less?
Yeah, a place to excavate, to dig, that kind of thing.
Okay. I think I would be staying quiet, but listening closely to hear what kind of numbers they're talking about. Trying to get a sense of what is being charged for a claim and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Anton is not super enthused with the idea of getting involved with this. Like, I think it's just like another unnecessary stop that and potential risk that we're making that we don't have to on our way back to this world. So yeah, I think that Anton is definitely kind of more apart from this conversation now.
Yeah. That seems fair enough. Askarite, your friends seem to be being charged 10 thaler for a claim.
10 thaler.
That's spicy.
Silvercheek has stressed like there's no time limit. You know, it's basically they stay as long as they want. They dig as hard as they want. They keep everything. But to take a spot on the hill, you have to pay the price. You know, and it's not horribly exorbitant, but it's not that cheap either. And looking around you can see like most of the people here, you know, you see a few people in fancier dress and such like, but there's definitely an air of desperation to the place.
I think I'd maybe look to Stio and quietly say, what do you think? Seems a high price to me.
Matt, what do I think? Have I heard about this kind of claim-based scheme before?
Yeah, people definitely do this. You know, someone arrives in an area and decides that rather than dig themselves, they'll kind of advertise that it's a good place to dig and charge people for access to it for equipment and safety and protection and stuff like that. And it builds up a small sort of a small settlement and a small trade in that area. And sometimes it sticks, like the Earth Towers of the Black Leech Rift started that way. But the vast majority of the time, you know, a season, a year passes, and the places end up abandoned because of lack of fines, or you know, someone with more authority moves them on, or something else moves them on, maybe permanently.
How long has the place been? How long has this place been here for? When was it discovered?
You asking anyone this specifically, Silvercheek?
I think, yeah, Silvercheek's the one we're kind of negotiating with, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. She kind of looks up from kind of counting out the 10 thaler that Vikama has handed over and says, I'm not sure exactly. I've been here about a year, but it was here longer than that. I don't know when this Cylindra came here, but I think she's been dead at least a couple of years.
Oh, well. Better than me, I suppose.
Vikama kind of turns to the three of you and says, "No claim."
You really think it's worth it?
I think I might buy in. I mean, if it's been here a year, I don't think there's anything awful left there. I mean, there's probably not. I doubt there'll be $10 worth of artifacts, but there's probably not going to be an ancient curse or some other dark elf magic.
Vikama kind of turns to the others who kind of nod and turns back and says, "If you take a claim next to ours, we help you, you help us. If someone strikes it big, the others get quarter."
I'm okay with that. How do you feel, gentlemen?
I think that seems reasonable. I feel we've probably got enough with us now that we can afford to lose a few thaler on this. I'll say that quietly.
Oh, I will try and cough my way over that by getting my coin pouch and very clearly removing exactly 50% of it, because I have 20 thaler to my name. So I will demonstrate that I am not here with a gazillion thaler, and this is a
You don't want to break out that massive chest full of symbolic gold.
that is not going to be seeing sunlight for quite some time.
Absolutely. Sure. You can hand over your 10 thaler. Silvercheek is perfectly happy to give you a claim right next to the others, and kind of basically hands you a piece of paper which essentially has very basic directions to where your claim is, as in you walk down this path and then 20 paces in that direction, 30 paces in that direction. That's where your claim is. The sort of thing. As you do that, Vikama kind of nudges Anton in the ribs and says, "Not so glum, priest. You can tell us more of your fire god."
I will do. You can keep our spirits high.
As he does so, someone next to you along the bar, who's kind of morosely sort of taking a drink, turns around and says, "Fire god? What, Prios?"
The one true god.
I'm sure. The man is sort of maybe in his 30s, quite plain looking, and clearly kind of he has the dress of someone who is Ambrian. And he says, "You want to be careful talking about fire gods and fire worshippers around here."
And why is that, friend?
You don't want to remind people of Sikander. He kind of indicates with his chin over at a corner, and you see a man there dressed in kind of battered and slightly torn robes of the Ordo Magica. He's kind of tall, maybe 50-ish or so, and has like a shock of sort of sticking up, again, slightly almost singed looking blonde hair and a messy blonde beard. And he's kind of scribbling something furiously in a notebook. There is a noticeable ring of people around him. Like, he has a gap around him.
And what's his story?
He's some kind of crazy former wizard. But he he has a thing for fire. You'll see. Not well liked. As he says that, another individual walks through the doorway into the gambling den, and this individual kind of, in a way, looks similar to this Sikander, but in other ways also couldn't be more different. He's very well kept and groomed, kind of a maybe a similar age or slightly older, with iron grey hair, slicked back, a neatly trimmed goatee, and sort of greyish robes. And as he walks in, Sikander leaps to his feet and screams at the man, "Get out! Get out! I know you! Your game! You're here for my prize! Get out! I'll not tolerate it!" And he kind of knocks his meal to the floor, and it scatters all over the place. The man who walks in kind of sneers at him, clearly unimpressed by this display, shrugs and turns and walks out.
You love a bit of the drama, don't you, Mr. Good Pub Roll?
I'm going to turn to the chap next to us, who sort of offered us that explanation of some of the lively characters in this institution, and sort of give him a nod of thanks for his warning.
He kind of nods back at you and takes his drink away, and he's immediately replaced at the bar by again a very different individual. Definitely Ambrian, quite well dressed, although that that outfit is kind of a bit torn and battered now, and covered in patches of clay and mud. And he's quite young, with like a shock of blonde curls. And he flashes you a bright smile as he goes to the bar and says, "Oh, new claimants."
This very minute.
thought we'd try our luck.
Oh, well, I hope you are lucky. I hope you're as lucky as I was today. He leans over to Silvercheek and kind of tosses what looks like a kind of quite a large, flashy gold coin at her, and she kind of looks at it, grunts, and slides kind of quite a large meal and a drink over to him. He looks back at you. His face is very open, very welcoming, and he says, between kind of mouthfuls of meat, he says, I'm Godja Bolgo."
Nice to meet you. You find something good today?
Several coins. Very good. But there's more there underneath. There's more.
How long have you been here, may I ask?
About 3 months. 3 months.
Is this your first find or one of many?
I've found a few things. Not as many as I'd hope, but I'm doing what I can. And I'll stay here as long as I can. I need to support my family.
Where do you hail from originally, sir?
Oh, down near Inderos. But times are hard. My father keeps saying times are hard. He's lost a lot of the land, but we all have to take gambles. We all have to gamble. But I've hit it lucky here. Of all the places in Davokar, the tomb of the Emperor of Symbaroum, right here under our noses.
Well,
is that what this is?
glad.
Oh, I've carried out some studies, and I'm fairly sure. You can see an individual on the other side of him, kind of laughing into their beer.
Did he? Did you translate a name?
Oh no, nothing like that. I'm not a scholar. I just, I happened upon documents. Well, I say I happened upon them. I was sold them.
So who sells artifacts such as that? Information is sometimes more valuable than coin.
It was a man down in Inderos. He came to the village to my father's keep. Said it was secret information.
Wow.
Oh.
He'd overheard it in the capital, and he had some documentation to prove it. He gets it out of his pocket, and you've never seen a more clear forgery in your life.
Amazing.
This Godja Bolgo is friendly, but he is not bright.
Yeah.
You're truly lucky to be offered that.
A storied hill indeed.
Don't listen to the stories everyone else tells you. Everyone has their own claim here, but I'm absolutely sure that this information is sound. Who knows? I hope it's me who breaks through. That's all I can say.
You think there's a tomb beneath the hill?
Oh, I think, well, not everyone thinks there's a tomb, but I think a lot of people do. That's Sikander over there, the man who was shouting. He definitely thinks it's some kind of tomb. He's been talking about it. But you see him over there? He points to another man, quite an old, haggard-looking man who's sort of glumly kind of eating what is more a almost raw potato. Clearly can't afford much else. He says, "That's Arkalai. He thinks his wife is in the hill. Says she disappeared in Davokar, and he has reason to believe she's under there. Says he can hear her." Poor man.
Confluence of stories. That's tragic. That is tragic.
It would be.
And
none of them know that what is there is the Emperor of Symbaroum.
Apart from you.
And now you, I suppose. I've told others, but they don't believe me. They just have other stories. He thinks his wife is down there, a different tomb. The woman over there, the one with the black cloak, she thinks that some war hero is under there.
Well, as long as there's something under there, that's...
If there wasn't, I wouldn't have this lovely meal. It's not really a lovely meal. It's copious, but not lovely. But he seems to be being excessively polite.
Well. Perhaps we should go take in the air and have a look at these claims then, if they're going to make us rich.
Get digging. The sooner you dig, the sooner we're there. I'm sure there'll be wealth enough for all. He kind of salutes you with his flagon and carries on drinking. Over kind of, you kind of turn away from him and you see the two barbarians and Relnara who kind of overheard the conversation, kind of glancing at each other. A voice from kind of just down, well, Earthon's. I don't need to say a voice from Goblin height. Earthon says, "Okay,
it's a scam, isn't it? Shall we take a walk, friends?"
Yeah.
You exit out of the gambling den onto this kind of main street. You can see ahead of you the other kind of large, more ostentatious building is a like what seems to be an equipment store called the Prospector's Friend. And further on, there are lots of kind of like shacks where all the day thalers kind of just work. Day thalers, someone who works for a thaler a day, like a laborer. Are spread out throughout the palisade, and over kind of further behind where the two large ostentatious buildings are is what appears to be it looks to be a bonfire, a very large bonfire that basically people are almost continually placing wood onto it, and it's kind of just basically like blackened wood and embers are on there now, presumably something that gets lit up at night and then just fed slowly through the day to make sure it doesn't go out, and it's kind of some smoke is lazily drifting off it up into the sky.
You mentioned earlier it's quite a busy town. It's not like I have to find a place for a surreptitious meeting.
No, I mean, you saw, you think so far you've seen maybe nearing on 100 people. It's sort of getting towards the late afternoon now, so you suppose people are stopping working. And if you look up at the hill, you can see like a slow procession of a few people kind of drifting down. Maybe the last people who were digging through the day.
Okay, so everyone, I have the worst imaginable feeling about this place.
I feel like this place has little to offer us. We have our treasures, and burdening ourselves, in the very best case, with more is potentially a headache in how we get them back to Thistlehold. And that is if we even find something. We could be here for weeks.
Let's just keep that part quiet.
Indeed.
I'm concerned there seems to be a mania about this place pertaining to the gambling and to the digging. And I look, you know me, I am a suspicious old man, and I see elf magic behind every tree, but I don't like any of this situation. I don't want to run off into the forest before we've had a chance to at least see the rhythm of the settlement, but not keen I want to do any digging.
I think it's just attracted desperate people. It seems easier than the real tombs in Davakar, and so they come here, but I wouldn't worry too much about.
But that forgery about the Emperor of Symbaroum? Maybe you're right. Maybe you are right.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. He comes here on the promise of easy treasure. I
want to know where our Ambrian companion got her information from.
Well, they are kind of loitering nearby you. Relnara, yeah, they followed you out.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll include them in.
Yeah, sure.
I can't because we've been discussing the treasure and we're trying to keep that on the lowdown. Oh no, but
I'll
there
tell
is
you what,
treasure. We got treasure. We got treasure from them.
Yeah, you did discuss. You know what? They come out now, so they emerge now, and they walk over to you, and Relnara is kind of picking her teeth and says, "I've seen a map to the tomb of the Emperor of Symbaroum 100 times."
Yeah, this is a bit. I don't know if it's cursed or if it's just a big old village of waifs and strays, but I have a whole host of bad feelings about this. Where did you get your information about this site, if you don't mind me asking?
I heard about it up near Carvosti first.
It's been here a while.
Then off someone at the Sun Temple. We were thinking about coming down here, paying some money, trying our chances, and then that rebellion broke out. Not worth staying. Made our minds up for us.
As delusional as that man was, it did seem he'd found something.
I think everyone's found something, but why, if they're pulling up gold Symbaric coins, are they staying here?
Well, they want to find more. Greed.
I know I'm bringing greed, and it seems like this might be an extreme example of it.
Vikama kind of shoulders his axe and says, "Let's look at claims before night falls."
Yeah, it'll give me something to do. Walk off all this dread I'm feeling.
The rest of you, everyone following along with them?
Yeah.
The claims are next to each other, so you might as well. You proceed out of kind of there's another gate that in fact, there isn't another gate. There is one gate that leads out. So you kind of go out the way you came and walk up what's basically like a beaten path up the hill and round the back of it. As I said, it's muddy. It's mostly clay, and you can see everyone's claims show very different approaches to it. You know, a couple of them almost have like little fences around of their own and little huts. Others are basically just holes dug in the dirt. You follow the path round to the other side of the hill, and after a short while, you find where you are meant to be. It is they seem to be two patches of slightly grassy clay, a little bit away from where someone else has been digging. They are wholly unremarkable.
So this is it. This is my suit of heavy armor.
Seems as good a spot as any.
Vikama kind of drops onto his haunches and like tries to scrape up some of the clay off the ground in a fist, and kind of gets it all stuck to his hand and shakes his head and says, "Hard digging."
We've got a shovel, don't we?
Yep. FNA would hate this. Digging a hole.
Rilnara kind of looks up at the swiftly dropping sun behind the canopy of Davakar and says, "Well, we're here now. Make the best of it."
Do we dig into night, or do we go back in shelter and make a start in the morning?
Erfon says, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'd rather get a night's sleep than stay out here on this hillside in Davakar scrabbling in the dirt."
Sounds good to me.
Agreed.
I still feel bad about... feel suspicious. Bad is something that's probably going to happen later. I think we might want to post watches.
Not a bad idea. Steer, are you volunteering for the first shift?
Looks like I've just been voluntold.
You head back inside the palisade of Cylindra's Hope. None of you have, unless you want to try and build a shack, but you all have kind of like, I think there's some pretty reasonable camping equipment that you've got with you, and the others certainly do, even if it's only a lean-to up against the palisade. But you can set those up kind of, unless you have an objection, next to the others' lean-to that they build against the palisade as well. And spend the night. And as you say, keeping a bit of a watch?
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
please.
Okay.
It seems like it would be a place that's like ripe for theft
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
and also horrible violence.
I hope it's kind of coming across a little bit here that and I think it reads in what they've written as well. This it's a fantasy Wild West equivalent here. It's pretty wild and woolly. So yes, absolutely. Shifts overnight go by without any problem. You kind of like there's 7 of you to do it, so there's plenty of time. You just take an hour each. The sun comes up in the morning. There's quite a swift flood of people out from Cylindra's Hope. Kind of almost as soon as the sun's come up, people are flooding to the hill, and it's odd seeing the entire noise and the movement of this small settlement just move over, and the hill is just kind of swarming with people on this side. As everyone walks past you and walks around, you see a couple of individuals you haven't seen before. You see everyone who I described previously to you, but you also see, for a start, a kind of small group of who look like very shabby barbarian warriors who move through the settlement, kind of like with a bit of swagger. They clearly kind of think that they are a force to be reckoned with, and you see them give a couple of people a shove if they say something they don't like, and elbow another few people out of the way to get to where they want to go. You also see walking behind them at some kind of distance from them, but gently keeping an eye on them, a large female ogre with kind of like most ogres have like clean shaven heads or bald heads, and she has as well, and she's wearing kind of sort of modest armor that's been kind of fitted for an ogre, which is quite unusual, and has like a large long club or kind of mace strapped to her back, and she kind of, as she walks near your tents, kind of glances over, not in a hostile way, but just kind of, she's definitely measuring you, and then kind of carries on walking without saying a word. And otherwise, you see most of the other people. You saw Gojabolgo, who gives you a cheery wave. You see Sikander. You see the individual he yelled at. You see Arkalai, apparently convinced that his wife is somehow in the hill. And you see the woman in the black cloak as well.
We must have a word with that Ordo Magica. He seemed to be... I think of all of them, he's probably the one who came with the best plan.
So he seemed to have completely lost it to me.
That'll be 2 for 2 for mages I've met in the forest who've gone completely insane.
That's true. Wonder how long he's been here. Maybe he ran down from the north.
A question that's forming in my head. The main question that's forming in my head is, has anyone successfully left?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. How do we get out of here, and when do we decide that enough is enough?
You suppose that, I mean, obviously, perhaps Silvercheek can answer that question for you, but similarly, that obviously there's going to be someone running that store. Maybe they also have, presumably, they need goods bringing in and taking out. So perhaps either of those individuals could answer those questions for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Shall we see what's under this sod then? If nothing else, I want to take a close. If we can find one, I want to take a closer look at one of these coins.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Absolutely
spent the money.
Yeah, you might as well dig. Essentially, once you get back up the hill to your claim, you kind of see, Vikmar and Gadraban and Relnara kind of scratching their heads and kind of looking at just this patch of land they've got, getting some tools out. They seem to have like a small mattock and a shovel and stuff like that, and kind of start to try and move the earth. Can you all give me a cunning roll, please?
Oof, no joy.
Yep, made it.
Sorry, guys. I'm running a bit late here.
I needed a 10.
And
I got a 15.
I rolled 20.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, let me tell you, Anton's pretty confident that they can do the job. So yeah, Ascarai, I mean, you've got a couple of shovels. Like, looking at what other people have done, there are some pitiful holes around this hill, and you're pretty sure they were made with a couple of small shovels, like, you are seriously under-equipped for actually carrying out an excavation here. And this clay earth, Vikama was not kidding when he said it would be hard digging. Like, if you want to set up an actual decent dig, you might have to go get some equipment, and you will certainly have to plan it properly. You can't just start digging, because this clay is going to start, coming off and sliding into the hole. Like, you need to plan this.
Okay. I do not think that what we have is going to cut it for this dirt and for the size of this claim. It would take us years to get anywhere.
I don't want to get scalped on a fucking bigger shovel, lads.
Well, it can't be worse than that barbarian on the river, can it?
We will pay a fortune for decent digging equipment out here.
It can't hurt to go and ask what they're charging.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might find something else out about this place as well. Seems like there's only 2 buildings in the town, and we've been in one of them. We may as well go to the other one.
Maybe someone is leaving and they're selling up their equipment, and maybe we can look for a better price than theirs.
Very true. I did also wonder, this is a settlement built around, finding artifacts out of the ground. I wonder if, I know you're not going to like this, but if there's anyone here who might help us with what we have found.
I wouldn't. This place is Blackmore. You tell anyone what we've got, it's going to go.
That's true, but we need to find out, what are we going to do with that hand?
Now, the hand, I think, yeah, show them the hand. Let's just be coy about anything.
Well,
you could certainly definitely be safer with showing the hand than you could the chest of gold,
full of gold.
or the glittering green cloak, or the book's probably fine. You don't think many people here will be able to read.
Okay, look.
To be fair, it does look like a fancy sealed codex, so it's obviously an artifact. So no, they'd probably also want to.
I don't even know about showing them the hand. I mean, that's a cursed item for sure. And
We don't know, though.
We're come on,
90%.
It's from the depths of Davokar. Just wait until we get to this hold and let the Order of Magica have a look at it before we do anything else with the damn thing.
Look, that you've dealt with those mages before. Right now, the choice with that thing is who's going to scalp us.
I just think that there must be someone here who tells these people what the things they find is worth or what it is. It's a whole settlement based around taking these things out of the ground. I do agree that perhaps showing them some of what we have is a bad idea, but the hand seems... If we're carrying a completely cursed hand, I'd like to get rid of it before this hold if possible.
That would be a handy turn of events. I will deliberately pause for laughter. I will receive none. Right. Well, you two both seem like you've got the most to do in town. I, however, am the one taking out my little fold-up shovel with some pride, who managed to bring a shovel. So I'm going to help Gadruban and the others make a start on what we have. And if you guys find a way to get some better mechanism for excavation or some better information, then do come and tell me.
Well, yeah. Good luck with the dirt.
Irfon's grunts and walks over to kind of a tree stump that's been cleared off the top of this hill and sits on it and says, "And I'll keep watch." Shrugs. It's not my 10th Thala.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I will I'll hand Theo 3/4 thaler, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we're all in on this, right? Like,
Mm.
I'll do the same. Taking my thaler total down by half.
Sure. Cool. So it sounds like Anton and Ascarai are heading back into Cylinder's Hope, maybe going into the Prospector's Friend and talking to whoever is within.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So we can shuffle Chris off for a second. I don't know why I say that. I can do it myself. You walk back down the hill back into Cylinder's Hope. Most of the people, as I've said, are now out on the hill. The only individuals you see kind of hanging around, you can see the ogre, who's sort of basically like sat leant against. Basically, someone's put like a kind of millstone between the two fancier buildings and is just kind of sat on that. Sort of examining the long club is now out, and she's kind of examining the parts where small iron like I want to say marbles, but that doesn't sound right. Like globes, like large ball bearings have been like placed in to the club all the way along it. It looks like not a good thing to be hit with.
Yeah.
And she kind of glances up at you and then glances back down at the club and carries on. Whatever the club equivalent of sharpening the blade is, essentially checking the settings. Are you just going to go straight into the Prospector's Friend?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. You walk in. It's fairly dark and dingy inside, kind of belying the work that's been done on the exterior of it to make it look like a relatively affluent general store. Inside is a fairly young man, Ambrian, by the look of him and the look of his dress. He's got kind of like slightly floppy brown hair and a pair of actually quite expensive looking like pinch glasses. And kind of looks up at you as you come in and says, "Oh, new faces."
Just arrived yesterday.
Right. Well, I'm Semmel. This is the Prospector's Friend, and I suppose that makes me your friend if you've bought a claim.
We have indeed. We're after some gear for excavation.
Shovel's not enough.
That remains to be seen, but we suspect not.
Yes. Well, I can show you what I've got. I think you'll find the prices somewhat reasonable for, where you are. He immediately, and you get the impression he has definitely been through this 1,000 times. He immediately reaches under the large desk he's behind, brings out a mattock, brings out a rope, brings out like a stack of about 5 planks, brings out like some small, almost like hand trowels. Trowels you use with your hand rather than the other kind of trowels. So brings out some trowels and says, "This is what you need to start digging seriously."
And how much?
Yeah.
It's a bargain at 10 thaler. Not 10 thaler. Sorry, that's absolute rubbish. It's a bargain at 1 thaler. That's different. It's only one number off, isn't it? It's only the 0 off.
It's 0 off. That's basically the same.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's. I'm going to turn to Ascarai. Honestly, I think that's a more reasonable price than I expected.
You think in Thistlehold this would cost maybe 5 shillings, 7 shillings, but it's not that much a markup considering it's where you are.
Yeah, I'm considering we've spent 10 thaler on this claim, and we're going to get nowhere with it unless we have these things.
You got to speculate to excavate.
Yeah, a great point. The wisdom of Krios truly knows no bounds.
As Prios himself said.
Well, yeah, if we're here, it looks like we're doing this. Like, if we don't buy anything, then we've wasted 10,000 between us. So what is, 3 shillings more each to do this?
Agreed. Let's get him, and at least then we might have a chance at this claim. You never know. Maybe we'll find something good.
Maybe.
The young man says, "Oh, I'm sure you will." He's making no effort to hide his sarcasm. He slides the gear across the desk from you and says, "Well, my name's Samuel. You can ask for me if you need any more gear. I take care of everything here." Askarai, Askarai, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Now, Askarai is in possession of a certain ring.
Yes.
Does Askarai wear this ring?
Do I think that I probably am? Yes.
Yeah. Because I mean, we could say, will the others have noticed that you have that ring? But I guess, maybe they didn't see it so closely or anything like that. But yeah, sure, okay. I think we can gloss over that. So, Askarai, as you're kind of getting money out of your purse to pay the man, he glances down at your hand and reaches over the counter quickly, grasps your wrist, and says, "Oh, thank God. Thank Prios," he probably should say. Thank Prios.
What?
You're here. I wrote for help. Why didn't you say?
Not sure I'm understanding you.
The ring. Aren't you here to help me?
I don't know who you are other than having just met you. This ring. I don't understand its relation to you.
Well, he kind of takes off a glove and shows you an identical iron ring. Anton, any significant reaction from this?
No, just kind of watching with curiosity. I guess I'm thinking, although I'm not articulating this, but I guess I'm thinking that this guy could be our route out of here if he wants to get out of here.
Sure. Why don't you? Attention has been drawn to the ring that Askarai is wearing. I think it's worth giving you a vigilant roll to see if you can clock where he's got that ring from.
Sure. Okay. Oh, I rolled 1.
Okay. Yeah.
God, it's all or nothing for me tonight.
For whatever reason, you hadn't clearly noticed it before, because your attention was not drawn to it. But yeah, you are very, very sure that that ring that Askarai is wearing, you've seen it before. You're fairly sure it's the ring of Master Vernum, the gruesome murder there were many gruesome murder victims of the Flayer, but specifically the one whose murder scene you all investigated. Although actually you didn't. Because you weren't there,
I didn't.
were you?
But I did meet Master Vernum once in The Witch and Familiar.
Then that's perfect. You're fairly sure on the occasion you met Master Vernum, he was wearing that ring. And obviously you are aware that these people, your friends investigated that murder.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to choose this moment to bring that up, but that's something to talk to Askarai about in a few minutes' time, perhaps.
Sure. The man is looking kind of a bit confused at all this. Samuel, he's kind of, pointing at his ring and pointing at yours.
I see it.
He seems to be thinking that you aren't getting this really obvious link between you.
And you're looking to leave this place?
No, I'm looking for help. I want to do my job here, but I don't know how. Are you here by coincidence?
Purely coincidence, I'm afraid. I haven't heard about your letter.
Well, Well, I'm glad. In any case, you can help. There's something very wrong here.
What exactly is wrong?
They're digging deeper and deeper, and I'm no expert. I know I'm only new to this, but I think there's something in that hill. Something they could maybe awaken. I think it's dangerous, and I think the barbarians do too. They keep watching from the hills.
So why are you selling this equipment to help them dig?
I have to have an excuse for being here.
You
My
could have an
family's a
excuse.
trading family.
You can have an
I mean,
excuse, but it does not help them.
It's poor gear.
Huh.
And
Well,
besides, if I was not doing it, someone else would. But I need to be here, and I need to be in a position to be able to talk to everyone, and frankly, not be knifed.
Sorry, which group is it that you belong to?
He kind of looks over at you, and then looks at Askarai and says, "Your friend." Oh, Prios. I shouldn't have said anything.
it's okay.
Askarai?
Perhaps it's best to discuss this later, Anton.
Here, Semel kind of swallows nervously and says, "And if we could talk later as well, maybe
Yeah,
plan."
I'd be interested to hear in what more information you have about what you think may be here.
Okay, and I hope your friend can help us.
He's a good friend. He will help us when needed.
Good. Well, I'll talk to you later then. He looks quite confused by the entire exchange. I think he's not the only one, but
So I guess we're not buying that equipment. Is how I'm feeling about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's still even this poor equipment will be better than what you have for sure.
I think I would still buy it.
It's not sabotaged; it's just a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm. I don't think I'm not buying it on the grounds that it's shoddy gear. I think I'm not buying it on the grounds that this guy seems absolutely terrified that something is being awoken. He's given us a bloody big warning to not dig deep.
I personally would still buy this. I'd just give the thaler and take this stuff.
Sure. So you exit from the prospector's friend. Do you want to have a conversation on your way back to the claim, or are we going to wait to there so everyone can have the conversation together?
Probably, I think. Well, I don't know. Up to Anton, probably. Askar would probably just look at his ring a bit and be like, "God."
I think that Askarai, you probably have some explaining to do, and maybe that should be in front of Steo as well. He needs to understand this, unless he knows more than I do already.
I don't think so. I really don't think either of you. I don't think I know too much more than either of you, but I'll explain what I can.
Okay, let's bring Steo back on. You head up to the claim on the hill. The others, Relnara and Gaudraban and Vikama are kind of like digging where they can, but really they're just kind of scraping clay off the surface of the soil. And Urfons is watching them quite happily, kind of kicking his feet against the tree trunk. Yeah, I think before we have this conversation and we all get confused or something, I think Steo and Askarai can make a cunning roll to see if any of them make a little logical leap. Because I'm not sure Anton was privy to this information. He certainly didn't read the letter.
I made it.
Yeah, I made it with 3.
Okay. As soon as you come back and kind of relay the situation to Steo as well, the two of you very quickly share a glance and come to an obvious conclusion of what this iron ring might mean, as you remember that Master Vernum was reputed and it seemed kind of confirmed in a letter you found in his chambers to be a member of the Iron Pact, the secretive organization that is rumored to be made up of both men and elves that guards Davakar.
You're not playing both sides, are you, Askrai?
I am not a member of this Iron Pact.
Oh, I think you actually are. Because from my understanding, the price of membership is just having the ring.
I think someone who is actually a member of the Iron Pact would probably not accept me as a member of the Iron Pact. But in any case, I have this ring. I took it from one of the corpses back in Thistlehold. It seemed an item of interest, and that perhaps even it would offer us some safety where we could run across some elves out in Davakar.
Well, today it's taught us some very useful lessons. One, don't have your valuables in plain sight at all times. And two, what the hell are we going to do about this then? And is anyone going to thank us if we find a way to, I don't know, burn the whole settlement to the ground?
Well, firstly, I would think that having it in plain sight in this case has helped us.
It certainly has. But
Not in the
imagine
way I
if
hoped it would. But
imagine if it had been a true blood elf. Let's say they would have met you with a dagger rather than a smile and a request for help.
Urfons has come over to sharing this conversation and says, hold on. I mean, as far as we're concerned, isn't this just one more crazy story?
That's a good point, Urfons. Wow, how come you're out cynicaling me today? This hill must be rotting my mind.
Just to step out of character for a minute, though, didn't we see like an iron armband on some of the elves that we fought?
Earlier
on in the story?
Indeed.
So
the two elves who came to basically kill the barbarian brothers, who then turned into abominations. They were also indeed wearing iron jewelry of various kinds. Yes.
So for that reason,
I believe Balmello. So I believe Balmello, the real, actual Balmello, took an iron armband off one of them and kind of hastily secreted it about his person. So clearly, he thought it was of some interest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is right, but is it true that Balmello, or perhaps the person we thought was Balmello, took Master Vernon's ring, and the ring I have is from an elf corpse?
You may be absolutely right, but they are identical. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, you are absolutely 100% right.
This, I do agree that this man did not know what he was talking about, but the point he made about the barbarians standing and looking, as well as the carrots who seem to want nothing to do with this land, do suggest that something is there could be something wrong with this place.
Well, what our 20 thaler between all of us has bought us is an alibi to stay here and try and figure out what's going on. See if we can make any money off it.
Agreed.
A woman's voice calls out from just a little way up the path from you and just says, Hello, Father.
Oh, yeah. See who it is.
It's the woman who was pointed out to you wearing the voluminous black cloak. She has kind of long dark hair and sort of a weather-worn face, but maybe in her late 20s or early 30s. She takes some time kind of walking up to you, looks quite tired, and says, Father, I saw you come in to the Hope. Are you are a man of Prios, are you not?
I am indeed. Are you in need of my services and our Lord's services today?
I would always be glad, for the opportunity for confessional, but maybe it seems, I don't know, maybe it's superstitious. I was wondering if you come bless my dig.
That I can do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll tell you more if you step this way with me. I'll have you back to your friends in no time.
I'll turn around and give Steer and Ascarai a nod, and yeah, I'll accompany her.
Sure. You walk. It's not far. Her claim is pretty close to where the two claims you've taken are, and you see that she's clearly thought about it and is relatively competent at moving it, but is also only one person and hasn't hired extra laborers. So there's a pit in the ground that goes down about maybe 5 feet that has like a layer of brown water at the bottom of it, braced up on each side with planks, but clearly it's slow and hard work for her. She kind of gestures and says, These are my efforts for what they're worth.
You've made good progress by yourself.
I try. I came here for other reasons, Father, but now I think there's a very noble purpose here.
And what is that?
A man I knew in my youth, a war hero, Agani. Surely you heard of Captain Agani. Give me a cunning roll.
No. Rolled
You have
17.
not.
You did 11.
You have not heard of Captain Agani. She kind of shakes her head and says, a member of my order from its early years. He fought down in the wars to the south and then vanished up here in Davakar. I have reason to believe he is under here, maybe, I don't know, ensorcelled in some fashion, or maybe just dead, and perhaps I can recover his bones as relics. But yes, I need to find out, and maybe your blessing can help. He was a good man, a holy man, a saint.
I will do what I can, and I will channel Prios through me to give you the guidance that you seek.
Sure. Are you genuinely trying to kind of invoke Prios, or are you saying prayers and blessings to
I think
ease
that
her?
yeah, I'm more praying for her than for her sight of
Sure.
a claim. Yeah, and yeah, is it? I don't know. I'm getting like increasingly like concerned about like what effects this place has on people's minds, and is it possible to sort of maybe kind of like roll persuasion as and sort of see if I could use my prayers and words to sort of allow it to see the dangers of getting too caught up in her goal of like digging for these.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Okay.
Well, why don't you roll your persuasion against her resolve, and I could look up her specific stats.
Well, I'm not going to make it because I rolled 19. So,
well, you know, for all we know, she's got persuade 5. And well, what's your persuasion? Your persuasion, whatever
10.
it's called. Oh, yeah, then you haven't made it, because even with a +5, you definitely wouldn't have made it, would you? So, she kind of nods and hears. You get the impression she is hearing your words, but she's not listening to them, and she's just kind of considering what you're doing, a general prayer and blessing. And after you're done, she kind of nods and politely says, "Thank you, Father. I'd be delighted to talk longer. Maybe at night, but for now, I have to get back to work. He's under here somewhere. I need to find him."
I
she
will.
kind of clambers back into the hole with a splash.
I will be in the camp later. Come and find me if you seek my counsel.
She's already kind of scraping away at the clay on the walls with a shovel.
God, Prius, I do not like this place. I'm going to go back to the Steer and Ascarai and tell them what I saw. I do not like what this place does to people's minds. I think that you both had the measure of it earlier. People come here out of desperation, but this place will drive them mad. Each person here is pursuing something that is. Does it exist? I don't know. Is it obtainable? I don't know. And they are in a craze to find it, and it takes away their mind.
I'm beginning to agree with you both. This is more than just greed and desperation. There's too many people here who have just lost their reason completely.
So let's maybe back off the plan about digging and maybe start formulating a plan regarding learning more about this place and seeing if there's anything we can do to disarm it. Although, that being said, I don't wish to sound like a mercenary. I'm not prepared to fight an entirely hopeless cause unless I get some bloody money.
I also think if we don't dig, we'll attract attention to ourselves. Just we bought a claim. We're here, and we're just not digging.
Well, we are digging. I cleared about 3 or 4 handfuls of clay today. Irfons was looking. He's got the tallies. You're
Matt, you're on mute.
Sorry. So to be clear, you're not. Are you fairly set on not setting up like your dig today? Because if you want to do any digging, you have to. Basically, it will take a day to set up your dig, and then on further days you can dig. But are you not bothering with that, or are you?
I think if there's the option, if I see these tools, I think we should put the effort into setting up just to solidify the alibi. But not keen on digging. I'd also like to mention this to the barbarians and what's her name. I'm sure I have it written down.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Setting up seems
there. You have a conversation with her about it, presumably being a little circumspect about how you got this information, and their general attitude is kind of shrugging and kind of like, "Well, we're here now. We came all this way through Davakar, and it's not like we have anywhere else particularly to go at the moment." And they seem not skeptical. They seem kind of accepting, but as was their attitude with the ruin, they seem prepared to accept these risks.
Okay, I shall not push the envelope. Okay, well, we'll definitely get the rig set up today and see what tomorrow brings, I suppose.
Sure.
We also shouldn't forget that we have enough people to do some digging, but also have 1 or 2 people investigating things further, slightly surreptitiously.
Yes, you absolutely do. Like 2 people can dig at once, so yeah.
Anton, you probably have the best angle on the ancient and forbidden stuff in this forest. Do you want to talk to the scatty-looking mage and see if you can get a more consistent story from him?
I would dearly love to, Steo. I would dearly love to.
Maybe we should both go, actually. But let's get this set up first. We could do that in the evening. He's probably digging somewhere himself. What kind of madness has this mage been seized by?
Yeah, I will do that when I next can find him.
Then I suppose ask Rai if you can think of any. If you and your shopkeeper friend can come up with any solid strategies to diffuse this buried time bomb.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk to him more in the evening. What worries me is that he mentioned he'd written or asked for help. So at some point, perhaps some real members of this Iron Pact might show up.
Maybe
you
they
better
are
work-
observing from afar.
You better work on your bluffing skill if that's going to be the case.
Well, if they're elves, then they'll know, but that's okay.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm going to be completely frank with you guys. Ourselves and the Iron Pact are of similar mind when it comes to leaving the forest and its contained objects alone. We came here because we had to, and I want to go back before I cannot.
I'm not sure they would see eye to eye with us, considering the things we currently carry with us.
Fairly looted, fairly won, but the goal was always to get rid of the crown. That is done. I have no further business in this forest. I want out of it. The crown is buried under. The crown is buried with one of my best friends under 1,000 tons of stone.
I agree. I do not think we've done anything wrong. But I think the elves can be, well, it sounds and seems as though the elves can be unreasonable about this. Yeah. And I think if the elves come, we will.
Well, let's put that on the likely not to happen pile. But let's just, if we have to talk to them, let's all talk to them and let's be honest. At least up until the part where we took all that cool stuff.
So it sounds like most of the rest of this day is you setting up your claim and preparing to see whether you want to dig or not. It's there and it's set up. Obviously, the other group is doing the same. And I believe what we kind of came to there is that at some point, maybe later on in the day or in the evening, Anton wants to talk to Sikander. Ascarai wants to talk to Semmel again. And Steo, do you have any particular goals in mind?
I'm more interested in going with Anton to talk to the mage, I think.
Sure.
And I want to leave Ascarai alone to do the insurgency work, as it were.
Sure. As you what kind of the day is slowly winding to an end, and as you're walking down the hill, you see an opportunity to talk to Sikander. You see where his dig site is. It's kind of almost on the opposite side of the hill to yours, and it's one of the more large ones. He's clearly planned it out. Seems to have hired several laborers and kind of has dug several trenches and pits, and he's kind of walking between them, kind of ordering people around. Over by a large tent that's presumably where all his equipment is stored and things of that nature, stands a lone individual in kind of quite heavy, steel plate armor, who's just standing there with a long sword like held at their hip. And as I think I described the mage before, but kind of scratty Order Magica robes, a wild mass of spiky blonde hair and a tangled blonde beard, tall, quite gaunt.
Before we get even quite close, I'm going to call out his name and hold up a hand to sort of catch his attention.
Sure.
Sikander.
I think we said, Ascarai, have you moved on to go talk to Semmel?
Yeah, if I'm not still doing the...
Sure.
And the claim,
cool.
I'll head it back.
We'll shuffle you off. There we go. So, Sikander kind of looks up and around at his name, and sort of his movements almost remind you of a kind of like a large bird, kind of odd, jerky motions, and then he pins where you are and starts kind of stalking across the clay surface of the hill towards you. And when he gets near you, kind of peers at you as if maybe his eyesight is starting to go, and says, "Theurge, what?"
Forgive me. I was sort of given your name by someone in the camp, and I thought that it might be useful to have a short conversation with you to get to know you and tap into your wisdom about this place a little bit more. May I have a few minutes of your time?
He kind of peers over his shoulder at the work going on and says, "Be quick about it."
Well, my friend here and I are new to this place, and as a scholar myself, I'm keen to learn and not just dig mindlessly. And I believe that you may be one of the most learned expertise about this place. So, yes, it seemed sensible to.
Yes, flattery, flattery. And then you worm your little way into this. You worm your little way into my dig, and he starts jabbing you in the chest with a long finger, worming your way into my dig. And then you think you'll bring him up yourself. Oromal the Suppressor, Lord of the Lindworm Skins. You think you have claim to him, as if you have studied him your entire life, as if you have suffered the indignity of being thrown out of your own order for making fully accurate predictions and determinations of where he might be, where he might lay, and matters of great importance linked to him. Oh yes, I'm sure you want to learn from the scholar who knows everything, Theurge.
That is not our intention, I can assure you. We are digging. Our claim is on the other side of this large hill, and we are not intending to worm our way in. But every person that I speak to here has a different idea of what they are digging for. And as someone with a scholarly background, I wanted to understand what brings you here to this place.
You know exactly why I'm here. If you're a scholar, as you say you are, then you would have come to the same conclusion yourself. They called me a fool and made me outcast, but anyone with any learning could see this. You know it. That wicked scoundrel Handello knows it. He claims to be a scholar as well. What kind of scholar, reading salt from the entrail of pigs? No, I'll have none of it. Begone back to your master. You probably work for him anyway. And tell him to stay out of my business. One final hard jab in the chest, and you can carry on talking if you want, but he's rounding on you and kind of stalking off.
Well, Theo, that did not go how I expected.
That was very useful. Good job, Anton. I suppose we want to go and speak to the other one now.
I will say this. That's one of the shortest interactions with madness in Symbaroum that we've had, and I'm extremely grateful for how short it was.
We're 2 for 2 on mages. If this third one's mad, I'm just going to go ahead and claim the whole order has lost it. Shall we see if we can track him down?
Yeah, let's do it.
You kind of walk further along the path down back towards Cylindra's Hope, and quite relatively near where the palisade starts. Actually, you see. I mean, I'm assuming. Maybe I'm guessing for you that I'm assuming that you believe Handello to be the one that Sikander yelled at and told to go in the gambling den. If that is who you are looking for, you find him again in a relatively large, well-dug area, although with no labourers in sight. And he is sat, as I described him before, like a man maybe older than Sikander, swept-back grey hair and a trimmed goatee with quite well-kept grey robes. He is sat on a kind of small sort of a trestle stool outside a similar tent by the dig, kind of looking over into the dig, taking some notes. And as you walk up, he doesn't look up and acknowledge you, but he kind of claps the book shut before you. Could be in any way close enough to read what he's writing inside it. He lays it kind of carefully down by him, kind of crosses his hands over one knee and looks up as you approach.
Is it Handello?
Yes.
Forgive the intrusion. We do not mean to take up too much of your time. My friend here and I are new to this place, and we're hoping to learn some more about it from a more scholarly individual, not someone hell bent on just finding riches beneath the soil. We'd previously spoken to the former Ordo Magica member over there, but we found him to be prickly chap, and yes, you seem perhaps like you might be more amenable to conversation.
I am not a maddened beetle scrabbling in the dirt, if that's what you mean.
You did not give me that impression. May we have a few minutes of your time to understand this place a little bit more?
You may ask, I may not necessarily answer. It goes without saying that anything that I think increases your chances of gaining access to the treasures of this place and decreases mine is something I will keep to myself.
Well, between you and I actually don't see myself and my party staying here to dig that long. If the rumors about this place are true, because what I believe may lurk underneath this place is quite a dark, malevolent force that poses potentially a significant risk to us all.
Interesting. And how did you reach this conclusion?
Just rumors that I've heard in the short time that I've been here, but rumors that I believe to carry some truth.
And your friend, the mute one, does he also believe this?
I believe I don't like what is happening on this hill. Everyone seems to have a different reason for digging. May I ask what yours is?
I believe this place contains scholarly secrets.
Most of Symbaroum does. That's a fair bet.
Are you digging for yourself, or are you digging for someone else, may I ask?
Primarily for myself.
Can I clock if this guy is wearing one of the rings? He probably isn't, but I'd like to.
Yeah, you don't. No need to make a. He is not wearing an iron ring now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Is he wearing anything like any sort of symbols that would identify him as belonging to?
No, a very plain but well tailored black, not black, grey cloak, robe, but probably also some kind of like cloak and covering.
Handel, I suppose one of my questions is, what happens if your dig uncovers something? What happens if you find something underneath this deep, heavy clay? Are you prepared for what happens then?
I have certainly made preparations. Look, you're clearly an erudite fellow, and also a fellow who associates with individuals who can provide him a certain level of protection. Perhaps come to me tomorrow, and we will maybe discuss this further. Away from prying ears and eyes. My work here is nearly done for the day, but I have other things to attend to. If you simply arrive here tomorrow, we will step inside my tent and we will go through this in detail.
Okay, I appreciate that. I thank you for your time.
That's all right. He kind of brings the book back up but keeps it closed and watches you as you leave.
So I suppose we'll get out of earshot.
Mm-hmm. And while you stride down to Cylindra's Hope, well, you know what? You have the conversation between you, and then we'll check in with Askrai.
Not quite as mad?
No, but equally reluctant and reticent to talk.
Definitely is after something in the depths.
Indeed. And I do have some concerns about the turnabout and decision to speak with us tomorrow. That seemed, out of character, and I wonder if there was a realization that we have something to offer him.
Potentially. I still think let's talk it over with a beer and see if we do come tomorrow, maybe we have Ascarai tail us and see if he can give us a little bit of extra leverage in terms of one extra number, if need be.
Yeah, quite possibly a good idea. Yeah,
Back down the hill for the meanwhile, I'd say.
I agree. You're on mute.
Of course I am. Let's do a swap around. Let's bring Chris and Mike off and bring Sam on. And let's see how Ascarai got on with Semel, the prospector's friend. So, yeah, you headed down the hill, you kind of kept on walking as the others started talking to Sikander. Probably heard some yelling behind you as you carried on down. Are you heading kind of straight into the prospector's friend?
Yeah, I'll just head straight there.
Sure. You walk on in. Semel is there. He's kind of conversing with Arkalai, the man who you were told is a widower looking for his wife under the hill. And Arkalai is like, I don't have any more money, Semel, but I'm nearly through. But the head came off my mattock, and please, I have to. She's in there somewhere. I know she's in there. He kind of leans across the desk and says, I've heard her calling out for me from beneath the hill, and I've seen the lights. I know I'm nearly there. Please, just lend me the mattock, and I'll give you any treasure I find inside. He's kind of reaching across and kind of has taken Semel's hand, not in an aggressive, violent way, just in an extremely earnest and desperate way. And Semel is kind of looks just very uncomfortable.
Does it seem like he's not going to give him the mattock, or
he doesn't seem to know what to do with the situation?
I will just kind of make my way in and say, do you think you're close to a breakthrough, friend?
He kind of whips around and says, yes, today, just today, I heard her.
You heard your...
I know it's dangerous. I know I need to go maybe as slow as I can, but I can't wait any longer. What if she's in danger down there? They talk of snakes inside the hill. I don't want her to be bitten. I not when I've just found her again.
How did she get down there?
I don't know. She vanished in Davakar not 2 years ago now.
It's a long time to be missing in Davakar.
I know, but I thought she must be here. When I came here, it was Providence that must have brought me. It was not why I came here, but now I know she is under there, and I am here, and I must get her out. Friend, do you have Semel? I don't wish to beg. Friend, do you have just a couple of shillings you could but lend me?
I will lend you 2 shillings, but perhaps at some point me and my companions will come and have a look at your claim.
I will take help by all means. I wish for no treasure, just for my wife.
I understand. I'll reach into my purse and hand him 2 shillings.
He kind of takes them and kind of scatters them on Semel's desk and looks at him with pleading eyes. And Semel goes, very well, Arkalai, but I really can't keep just giving you equipment like this. And takes another fresh mattock from kind of a rack of them he has over on one side and passes it over the desk. And Arkalai kind of thanks you both enthusiastically and dashes out back into what passes for the main street. Semel looks over to you and says, okay, I realize I should not have spoken in haste. I did not realize that your friend was not within the pact. Have you come to help me?
Unfortunately, I have not. As I said before, it is coincidence that I'm here, but I'm pleased that I've found
Very
you
well.
and made contact.
Will you help me now? Friend,
I'll-
I am but a novice. Seems too formal a title. I do not know what I am doing here. I will be blunt with you. This is my first assignment, and no help seems forthcoming.
It's I have sympathy. This is a confusing place. I struggle to know what the best course of action is myself. Having just arrived here, all I see is that clearly something is amiss here. There's a lot of troubled people, desperate, but something more than that. It seems to be happening. What do you know of this? Have you?
I will tell you everything that I know, friend, and you can choose to do with it as you wish. I am here to observe and to advise. I don't feel I can take any direct action myself. I am but a tradesman. There is something here that drives people to dig in that hill. You must have seen that by now.
Yeah, like the man who was just here. Clearly, he is unwell. I can't imagine that everyone, when they arrived here, had their own irrational reasons, as he does now. But it seems that everyone that we've spoken to seems perhaps not as far gone as he is. But
everyone who comes here comes looking for something, mostly treasure, sometimes otherwise. The Black Cloak, Neferina, she came here looking for some fugitive from justice, and now she digs her way into the hill looking for a dead saint. Something drives them to dig further. The barbarians, I don't know if they know what it is, but they surround the place and watch from the hills. There's a witch. I've seen her. I think she leads them. Perhaps you could talk to her. There is worse. Have you heard the stag?
I think we heard him when we entered.
You step foot far enough outside of this palisade and you will find the tracks through the forest. Maybe one great creature, maybe some ravening herd, but clearly a stag leads them. They travel through the forest around here. Hunting, stalking, fleeing, I know not. Sometimes people go out for wood and do not come back. I know not if it's the barbarians or the creatures. I do not know what to do, friend.
And could you help me to understand who runs this camp? Who are the barbarians that walk through the camp and the ogre? And what about the
barbarians?
The mask?
The barbarians are thugs. They call themselves the leg breakers. They do Silvercheek's dirty work for her. She runs the place in all but name. The leg breakers do her dirty work, and the ogre, Roughneck, she is the bailiff. It's a grand title for hitting people over the head when they get too rowdy. That is the closest we come to authority here. But even Silvercheek, she claims to have the right to sell these claims. Not really. She simply just is someone who doesn't yet seem to have fallen for the temptations of the dig.
Where did she come from? Does anyone know her? Why does she seem to lead this group of barbarians in running this camp?
I think it's just opportunity. She has not been here since the beginning of the place.
As you say, they should know something. As you can, they can see that something is wrong here.
Perhaps so, but I think she sees easy coin. Maybe she just mistakes it for the general madness and hunger for treasure that drives men and women into this forest. I know not.
And this witch, Where have you seen her, or what do you know about her?
I've seen her out up on the ridge to the east. I know nothing about her. I would assume she is Karahar, like the barbarians that surround this place, but the only way in and out that we can get is along the river. That is where the supplies come from. That is where people travel back down to Ambria. And the boats come in every couple of weeks.
And the people who leave, when I entered with my companions, the carrot said that they would not allow us to leave.
They have little option if you're taking the boats along the river.
Hmm.
People have had scatterings of arrows fall on them, but it really does nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. They can't stop a boat.
I can say that anyone who's tried to make their way out on foot has not returned.
Well, it all sounds very troubling. I think, as I said, my companions, although they're not with us, they are loyal friends and will help in what way they can. They're
Good.
equally troubled to see the people here in the state that this whole camp is in.
I honestly know not what to do, friend. I will take your lead on this. If you think we should perhaps talk to the witch, if you think we should try and contact others from darker in the forest, the secret people, perhaps we can. Perhaps they may be as liable to put arrows in us as they are to help us with this issue.
Let me investigate what I can, and then we will make our decision on what is best to do. In the meantime, any information that you find, come and see me.
Of course. Clearly you have come here. You coming here is a coincidence, but I am glad of it.
Me too. It seems there is trouble here, and hopefully we can help in some way.
Oh yes, we have plenty of rope here. Someone else has just walked in.
I think we have enough for now, but should we need more, I'll come and see you.
Another day.
Goodbye.
Okay. I think we can I'll just bring everyone back on, and I think we can have a quick regathering of people, perhaps back at your lean-to by the palisade. What do you say?
Yeah.
And sharing of information and such like. Someone's got quite a big fan noise behind them. I don't know if they want to maybe mute themselves and then come off mute and try and drive it to the shadows from whence it came. It's Mike. It's definitely Mike. It might not be that you have a big fan going. It might be like that. There's it's just the thing of the thing of the thing.
I think it's my laptop.
It may well be.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're mute when you're not talking, and it'll be good. It'll be good.
So, what did you learn, Ascaroy?
Well, quite a lot actually. He was very forthcoming. Felt slightly bad. He clearly thinks. But anyway, he mentioned that he's been here a while. He confirmed our suspicions that the people here are driven insane by the desire to dig for something under the hill. It's different for everybody. He mentioned a woman who came here looking for a fugitive and ended up digging looking for a dead saint. Or he believes, as we all do now, that there's something amiss here, some power or force that is just driving people mad.
Compelling them.
He mentioned a few things we could look at. The barbarians seem to just kind of watch and exploit the situation, but also that there's a witch. Anytime there's some kind of force like this, a witch seems a reasonable bet.
So far, in my dealings with them, they've always been the troublemakers, right enough. The business at Jackad's heart.
You would
What
think
about
that-
the
well,
of our adventures? We found both of the two most scholarly people are here on cross purposes, and neither seems to have any solid leads for us to go on. I don't think we're ever going to know the truth of what's under that hill, other than something bad, it would seem.
And I don't think that we could even trust any answer that we do get from people, knowing that everyone has their own madness that's driving them to dig. Although there is a small bit of promise in that we may have a meeting with one of the more sane scholarly individuals tomorrow, who may be able to help us some more. And we might need you there for that, Ascarai.
Yeah, I was going to say, so he's expecting two of us tomorrow. I'd like you to be an ace in the hole, if you can maybe keep yourself quiet and watch from a distance and assist if things get out of hand, or if I signal you.
Yeah, that sounds.
He definitely, we've set the dynamic up to put Anton well and truly in charge, and I'm just hired meat, which is true, but perhaps not in quite the same way that they want it to be.
There is some yelling from over near the gambling den.
Oh, trouble already. Let's go take a look. We might learn something.
Yeah.
You move over there and kind of like round and see a scene in front of you. An individual has burst out from the doors of the gambling den and is kind of like scrabbling through the mud, trying to get away as fast as possible, but not making a terribly good job of it. As they get kind of closer to you, and you can see there are various torches around, and there's a fair bit of light cast from that great fire, the bonfire I said, that indeed is kind of flared up at night and is fed copiously. And you can see that it is Godja Bolgo who's kind of panting and scrabbling away. Silvercheek steps out from the doorway of the gambling den, hefts a mechanical crossbow up, her repeater crossbow, and sends a bolt right through Godja Bolgo's leg, who pitches over and crashes to the ground with a shriek of pain. I'll pause regularly in case anyone wants to interrupt in any way, but if you don't, Silvercheek kind of stalks over to where he's lying, kind of like in the dirt, and sort of tosses a couple of pieces of broken pottery onto him and says, "I don't know how you did that, mystic filth, but don't try and trick me again, or you'll get worse." She levels a boot into his belly, and he kind of is rolling around on the ground, kind of in a considerable amount of pain. Silvercheek walks, kind of looks around, kind of notes that a lot of people are watching, looks fairly satisfied with that, and walks back inside the gambling den. Everyone kind of looks at each other and starts dispersing. Pointedly, none of them going anywhere near Godja Bolgo.
I will go near him and see if I can patch his wound up a bit.
He kind of turns over and says, "Oh, help, please."
Sit there a second. This is probably going to hurt a little bit more than the bolt did. We'll give him a medicus.
Sure.
One of the very few dice rolls we've actually done this evening. Which is nice.
Yeah. And no combat.
Yes.
Which is why we've got so much done.
Oh, I got a 3. That's very good. That's
Yeah, sure. Don't bother rolling how much damage, because I'm not calculating how much damage he's taken. Yeah, it didn't go in. Either Silvercheek, maybe it was a random shot, maybe she intentionally shot to not wound him horribly, or maybe she was trying to wound him horribly and missed. But for whatever reason, he's lucky. It went through his calf, and he'll be sore, and he'll probably have a limp, maybe for the rest of his life. But you don't think he'll die of this, not unless it becomes infected. You remove the bolt, tie it up, and it's even quite quick. It's a 10-minute job to get it that way. Godja Bolgo kind of gets back to his feet and kind of, pats you on the shoulder, back up to his feet with your help, and says, "Oh, thank you. I have these, I swear I don't know what happened to the Silver Cheek. I don't. I found the gold. I found the gold all the way, all the time I've been here. And he presses a couple of gold coins into, and they, they are Symbaric gold coins. He says, I don't know what happened, but thank you, friend. Come see me tomorrow, and I'll pay you more, and you can have a share of my treasure. Thank you for saving my life. He
You keep that wound clean. Maybe we'll talk tomorrow.
He nods and says, I have some water back in my shack. He kind of stumbles off away. He kind of leaves out Main Street and walks away. You kind of thumb the coins in your hand thoughtfully and then look down. Broken pottery pieces.
There's the root. There's one of the enchantments, lads. Did you guys see the gold?
Everyone will have seen that it was gold coins, yes.
God, I saw it.
Yeah. Elf magic.
What a tragedy that people are spending days, weeks, months, years digging for treasure that disappears in a matter of seconds.
That is probably a metaphor more deep than I am prepared to encounter at this time in the evening. What I'm concerned about is we all saw the gold, so none of us are immune to whatever is pulling the strings around here.
It's true. But it seems like it might have we haven't heard of this happening with anyone else.
We haven't been asking many questions about it, though. Might be a line of inquiry tomorrow.
Speaking of tomorrow, and I'm just conscious that we're approaching the end of the session, and I do like a good cliffhanger. Are we happy to? Is there anything particular you want to get done in the evening and overnight? Especially anything that wouldn't take long, so I can take us forward to maybe a nice little place to end.
I'm okay.
Just kind of get a good night's sleep. Yeah. So I believe the thing you mainly wanted to do in the morning, as discussed, was the three of you are going to go up to Handello's claim and see what this guy's about. Try and find out perhaps more as you can. See if this scholar knows anything.
With Ascarai a long way back, clearly not in our party and doing the sneak.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You leave, your claim in the morning. Almost every time you get up here, almost everyone is up ahead of you. Everyone is a lot more enthusiastic about getting up that hill and clawing in that mud than perhaps you are. You note, perhaps with some bleakness, that Vikama and Gadraban and Rolnara are all already gone.
Well, at their claim?
Presumably.
Okay.
Urfon's definitely is more kind of sticking with you guys, but it's just generally following you and will chip in every now and then when I feel he needs to. He walks. He basically says he'll wait up the path and kind of keep a watch out to see if anything suspicious happens while you're going to talk to Handello. You said that Ascarai is going to kind of sneak around a bit, right? So why don't we get a discreet roll from Ascarai?
Okay.
While you kind of leave your lean-tos, go out through the gates, and start walking up the path. As I said, it's not far up the path to Handello's. He's one of the first claims as you leave the Hope.
Needed 13. I got 11, so I made it.
Yeah, Ascarai slips away. Perhaps the tree line's a bit far away for you to get a look, but you kind of walk between some tents and shacks and kind of keep yourself close to the palisade, and you're fairly unobtrusive. Steo, Anton, you walk up and you are at Handello's claim. You can't see him, but there is a tent there, and the front of it is kind of unclipped and kind of slightly blowing in the wind. So,
Handello, you there? Oh.
Let's take a look, lad.
Steo, you pull aside the flap of the tent. Inside it's a fairly large tent which has a lot of kind of a decent bedroll, a small even desk, a number of bags, and a scattering of equipment, all of which is kind of knocked aside as some kind of conflict happened, and you can see the end result of it on the floor in front of you, plain as day. Handello sprawled on the floor of his tent, great gaping holes in his neck and his chest, his head tilted back, eyes unseeing forever now, looking out towards you, towards the entrance to the tent. And there is still a large steel knife embedded right into his kind of, in his trachea, upper chest in front of you. I guess you're not having that conversation with him, and I guess that's where our session ends. So there we go. Consider yourself cliff-hung. Very well cliff-hung. So thank you to everyone for playing that. Thank you to John for stream managing it. If anyone has any questions or comments, queries, suggestions, anything in chat, pop them in there and John will pop them up for us to talk about. I've got my usual blurb to do, but I also want to say thank you because we have had a couple of new followers this evening. We've had Mevs426 and Pando Play BR. Thank you very much. And if you want to check out anything else we do, there's a bunch of links down below. We have a Twitch and a YouTube. You're watching on one of those, but why not check out the other? We have a Discord. You can go to that and talk to us about all things roleplay. We have a Patreon, should you want to support us further, and we have loads of social media, so why not check it all out? We also have another weekly series on Tuesday nights. That's Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Same time, 8 o'clock p.m. GMT. And we have one-shots that we do monthly, and one of them is this Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon GMT. On here, on Twitch, we will be playing Troika, which is a wonderful indie role-playing game that we're really, really excited about doing. It's weird, it's odd, it's good. And if you want evidence of that, Sam here from this very game is going to be playing in that, and his character class that he will be playing is Skeptical Lamassu. So yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. It's going to be pretty good. Yes, and we also have another thing to promote. Excitingly, Symbaroum related thing. So next week on Thursday, we're going to have a nice little one-off stream on the Thursday evening that'll be hosted by John. Bring yourself on, John, being as you're going to be involved in this. Hosted by John, and that's going to be the Symbaroum players talking about Symbaroum, talking about their experience with it so far, mechanically and setting and all the exciting stuff. I'm going to step away from that, which is both exciting and terrifying for me. But yeah, that'll be a good time had by all. Do we have a time for that starting yet?
We're going to start at the usual time, I think.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. So 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. That's a week tomorrow, folks. If you
8
want
o'clock
to get
GMT.
involved. 8 o'clock GMT, of course. All our times are always GMT because we are filthy and, well, most of us are filthy and British.
Half the year will there be ST because our time system is broken.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So the date of that is the 11th, right? The 11th of March. So that'll be good fun. And that'll, as with all things, it'll go on YouTube afterwards as well if you want to check it out there. Could it just be that the player characters are terrible harbingers of doom? Well, I think that's as valid as any other supposition, honestly.
Seems
starting to feel like
at this point.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you tomorrow is what someone who's going to die in the night before they reveal a dark secret says. Did you write that before that last sentence?
Yes. No. I wrote that after the fourth person said, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, this is a pre-written story, so if you want to accuse people of being hacks, it's not me. That's all I'm saying.
More concerned about people getting hacked.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. CD Projekt Red. Lots of different meanings to a word. So thanks for watching, everyone. Take care out there, stay safe, and we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. But hey, if you're interested, join us for Troika on Saturday. Lovely. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Bye.